Hey, Mark, how are you?
Doing well, sir. Good morning.
We ready?
Yep, we're ready to go.
Just make a few thoughts here and then answer your questions. First, the Coleman family was here this weekend that gave us the wonderful gift for our practice facility and indoor area. And it just reminds me today how important it is. We were working outside and it started pouring the rain. There was some lightning in the area. And we run in about 2.5 minutes, we can go indoors where we're going to be playing in an indoor facility on turf this weekend. We can run indoors and have the rest of practice and not miss a beat. Before a time like this, even before the Smith indoor area that we have, the Eddie Smith indoor area, you'd have to go to a gym and walk through. And you'd have to look at practice and see if you can move practice around with class and weather. So we're very, very, very fortunate to be in this position. There's been a lot of talk this week about a couple of plays in the third quarter of the Virginia game. We're at a time in our lives where people have never talked more about our game and player safety, and the health and the safety of the players are more important than anything. I love the young people that play this game. Most coaches I really admire and respect, but the players are special. And to keep the game like it is, we got to keep it safe. The officials are unbelievable. They do this because they're passionate about it. But those guys are out there trying to figure out where 22 people are that are all over the place now with different formations and moving fast. And so the officials have a very, very difficult job. And so when Josh got hit like he did and Kurian Johnson got hit like he did, I was really, really proud of both of those guys for the discipline that they showed, that they handled it. They got up, they went back to the huddle and went to the next play. And that's a teachable moment for our entire team. When I addressed it with the conference office, and I thought it was a teachable moment for them too about player safety, I've never been more disappointed than the response I got. So that's all I'll say. We're moving on with it. We've gotten so many questions this week about whether the two young people are healthy. And yes, Josh and Kurian are both healthy and moving forward. So, but like I said, I was very disappointed. Thoughts of the week. This week last year, we didn't play well on the road at Florida State. It was the fourth game, so we've got to show progress in our program. And can we spend a lot of emotion in a big game last week and then come back and play well this week? That's what really good teams do. And that's how they become great teams. And then not only are we 5-6 on the road, and all the games have been really close, even though the ones we won, 2 of them overtime games that we lost, our record at UNC in Atlanta is 9-19. So it hasn't been an easy thing for us to win in Atlanta for sure. We start the next phase of our season over, and the next phase is the next 4 games, and then we have an open date. So we've got Georgia Tech on the road. We come back for Duke, Florida State, and Miami at home. So it should be a real fun month of college football, and we're back in the mix of a few things now after the disappointing opener. So we've got to continue to work hard. But again, 5-6 on the road, all of them close, but it's harder to win on the road than it is at home. And we're 2-1 in neutral sites. And I think every one of the road games have been within 6 points. So it's been this will be a close game based on that. Evaluation of Georgia Tech, they're really improved since we played them 2 years ago. We didn't pay much attention to them last year because we didn't play them, I think, for the first time in 40 years, I read. And you see them some, but you're not preparing for them. So, but they've done an outstanding job of recruiting. Pat Suttis, who worked with us at Texas, is their general manager and heads up their recruiting. He's kind of Billy High's mentor, so I know the type job that he does. And you can tell they've got a much different team now than they did when we played 2 years ago. You start looking at their Clemson game. they had a chance to win, and they outgained Clemson. Had more first downs, had more yards, and we know how Clemson's dominated this league for many, many years. So Jordan Yates has made a difference for them since the opener. They've improved so much since that opening ball game. And Jamar Gibbs is a young guy that we recruited that's a tremendous tailback. He was one of the best in the country, and their defense can really run. They've got some depth, but they were all over Clemson's offense. And it should be fun and exciting to be playing in Mercedes-Benz Stadium as well. So we need a huge contingent of our Carolina fans there to help us on the road, but should be a fun night. Questions?
Thanks, Coach. If you have a question, please use the raise hand button. And our first question today will come from Michael Coe.
Hey, Coach, have you talked to the guys at all about just sort of letting them know about the size of Mercedes-Benz Stadium so they're not completely overwhelmed by it when they step in? Because it's much bigger than any venue they've been in so far this year.
Michael, I really haven't. We at one point in my coaching career, we went to every stadium and we walked through it and we looked at our lockers and at some point you even worked out on Friday there. Now we work out on Friday here, fly down, but the guys have voted, they want to go through the Hall of Fame. And that's what they'll do. But we've quit going through stadiums because we just felt like it wasn't as important as we thought it would be. I think they'll be excited about playing in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And one of the staff members, and I won't say which one, said, "Are you worried about the weather this weekend? It looks bad." And I said, "No, I got it, man. It's 72 degrees with 1 mile an hour wind, and I even know which way the wind's going." And he looked at me like, "Really?" And I thought, ooh. He obviously hadn't read where we're playing, so we got it worked out. So we'll be good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, when you look at the big picture in building the program and being the different stages of the process, you just kind of alluded to it, going on the road, winning a game, playing up to your standard on the road. How big a chunk of the process is that? And how difficult is that to get a team to take that next step in the process?
Andrew, it's really hard. You've got to win at home first. And I think now we're 10-4. So we're doing that. And that's really, really important. Your fan base has to be that extra, that +1 in the stands that helps you. And our fans are doing that. Our students have been absolutely amazing. So but before you can win on the road, you got to win at home. It's like you got to recruit in your state before you can go out and recruit outside of your state. And then you've got to win on the road, which for whatever reason is harder. Maybe it's the travel, maybe it's sleeping in a different town than you or city than you normally do. Maybe it's the crowd advantage for the home team. Maybe it's just the visual that kind of Michael was talking about there with a different stadium. We practice indoors a lot with our indoor areas, so they see lights, and I'm not as concerned about being indoors as I normally would if we never practiced indoors. But for some reason, records on the road are much more difficult than games and records at home. So to be a great team, you've got to win on the road, and that's what we've got to do. And I just compared it to last year. I said this was the fourth week we went to Florida State, and we didn't play well. And so where are we? Have we made progress? Are we going to come off of an emotional game and stand around and practice has been good, but you can't do that. You've got to step up and be a great team. The other thing I did this morning, Andrew, and Jeremy could get it for you, or you all could look at it. We have rushed for more yards this year at this time than we had last year at this time. We have held the other team to less yards rushing at this time than after 3 games last year. So you look at comparisons and you look at progress in everything that you're doing all the time, and then you show it to the young people to let them see that we're making the progress we need to, but you got to win. it all comes down to winning more than anything else.
When you look at some of the better teams you've had at Carolina, your last couple teams at Carolina and those Texas teams, aside from being extremely talented, what was the common thread that some of them had when they were able to win on the road? And how challenging is it to create that from a coaching staff standpoint?
Andrew, I think you recruited, and then that you talk about culture is a word we talk about all the time. And I think it just means who you are. And the things that we talked about last week, the three things that are really on my mind right now is you better be confident to win, period. But you can't go on the road unless you're confident, because you're going to have some usually tough calls. You're going to have some crowd noise. There's going to be some energy for them. There are going to be some tough plays. That there'll be a trick play or two. They may onside kick to start the game. So you've got to be ready to overcome all that and handle it. So you better be confident. The second thing you better be is competitive. You better want to win so badly that you're not going to lose. You just refuse to lose because losing is just unacceptable in this business. And the third thing is that was a really, really physical game last weekend. You got to come back and play with some pain. And I told the guys just a few minutes ago, they just left the field. They were up at 6:30 for a team meeting this morning, that a couple of things that I see that are really difficult in life. It's hard to be happy. And success to me, especially at this age, is happiness. So we want these guys to learn to be happy. And the second part of that is to get up and create an edge and be competitive in whatever you do every day. It's hard to do. It's hard to do for all of us. We feel better on certain days than we do others. And to be the great father and to be the great husband, to be the great person at work, you've got to have a phenomenal attitude and be able to cut through anything that's happening in your life and be positive and have energy and create that edge at work. And that's what happens with college football teams and players and coaches. And at the same time, this week, the offense, everybody's patting them on the back. The defense, people are still saying, you didn't stop the pass. Well, after the Virginia Tech game, nobody even talked to the offense. They were awful. It's the worst offense I've ever seen. What's happened? Fire Longo. Now they're saying, we stopped the run, but I don't know. That's too many passing yards and not rushing the passer. And so our defense will be charged up just by the nature of being criticized this week. Our offense is going to have to handle being bragged on for the first time this year. And I've told them, are you getting pats on the back? Hey, great game, man. Oh boy, you blocked them, man. We were tough. Hey, that's great. Can you handle it? And is it about you or is it about the response you get after a game?
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
CL Brown, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, you mentioned, I think it was sometime back in the spring, about consulting with Pete Carroll on turnovers. I was just wondering if you could walk us through, what those conversations were like.
Yeah, Pete's a tremendous coach. And I've admired his career and what he's done, and he's done it with a smile. They work really hard and they're very competitive, but he's not the screamer, grabbing kids and throwing them around. He's always done it the way that I like to see it done. And Greg Robinson worked for us at Texas, and Greg and Pete were teammates at Pacific in college. And he constantly talked about two things with Pete Carroll. They did a better job of teaching guys and expecting guys to force turnovers. I think we said it the other day, we had 11 all of last year. We've already got 5, and we should have had 4 more the other night. So we're at least making progress in that area. The second thing he did, CL, is everything that Pete does is competition. Everything. And our business is about how hard can your team compete every week. So that's every drill we have. There's a winner and a loser. And that's in the off season, that's in the summer, that's in preseason, and that's every day at practice, because really and truly, that's what Saturday's about, competing. And who's going to compete the longest and the hardest with the most confidence. And I had Eddie Joseph was the head of the high school coaches association. He always said it's not the toughest team, it's the team that's toughest longest. And that's so true, because all these teams are tough. And the other night we were tougher longer. At Virginia Tech, we weren't. So that's what it's got to be. So that's what I took from Pete Carroll.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, CL.
Garrett Lynch, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Last week you mentioned a lot about energy and kind of really how much of a focus it's going to be coming into this week. What have you seen from leaders like Sam and THI kind of implementing that into the guys this week in practice so far?
Garrett, I've seen really good practices. It looks like that every day. And what I think I've mentioned this some, but my 5 years in TV, I really hated seeing teams not try hard. I just, because of the team is a reflection of me and our coaches and our staff. And you're either coaching it or allowing it to happen. And if they're not playing hard, it's our fault. I told them today, we can't get 106 of you ready to play. It's your job to create the edge, your job to get ready to play. But really and truly, the culture that we create with them year round, every day, is who they are and how they play. So that's the reason I was so disappointed in our Virginia Tech game, because we're responsible for them not making mistakes. And we made too many mistakes on offense. That's our job as coaches. These are 19, 20-year-olds. It's not their job. They're in college. They're playing a game. But it's our job to make sure they're in the right places. So I think, Garrett, that's the biggest thing. And we try to get at least one leader in each unit. And then if we can, we get 2 or 3. And then they have to control their unit. Our coaches go out on the road on Fridays recruiting, except for the 3 coordinators. So the leader in that unit has to lead their unit, make sure they're on time and make sure they do everything right. So leadership is so important in this business. And we're so lucky to have just guys like Sam and Gimmel that are outstanding leaders. But then you got a lot of them. I don't want to start mentioning them because I'll forget some, but there's at least one in each unit that we talk about, and hopefully in most cases more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Taylor Rippolis, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Brown, with the uniforms, it seems like you guys can't really go wrong with any choice, but with the retros, you guys are averaging just under 50 points a game with them. What's been the team's reaction when you tell them that's what they're going to be wearing for the week? And would you be in favor of making them the permanent jerseys?
I'm prejudiced toward those jerseys because when we were great here, that's what we wore. So if it was my choice, Taylor, and it is not, I gave that choice to the team and the leadership committee when I got here. That's what I'd wear, because I love the way they look. Man, they're real exciting. But you're right, we don't have a bad uniform, and the guys will reveal, I think today, Jeremy, correct, what they're wearing this weekend. But we have a leadership committee of 23 guys chosen by the team, and they choose the uniforms every week. And they choose whether we go to a movie on Friday night or not. They choose whether we walk through the Hall of Fame or not on Friday. So they make a lot of decisions for this team. But I didn't realize we were averaging 50 points a game with retros. So that maybe I'll throw that in for my little piece. But the guys love picking their uniforms. And that's something I allowed them to do when we first started here, because I wanted them to start having more decision-making in our program. And that's one thing that they can do, and they love it. And if I tried to get it back right now, Taylor, the toothpaste is out of the tube, I would lose them. We'd have a protest because they love picking those uniforms.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Over to Chapel Fowler.
Hey, Mac, since you came back to UNC, you've had 2 running back commits in the 20 class, 2 in the 21, 3 if you include THI coming as a transfer. What's kind of your strategy for bringing in at least 2 per class? And how does that kind of fit in with what you want to see from your running backs year to year in terms of workload and such?
Chapel, we've always felt like that you have to have 4 great quarterbacks and you have to have 4 great running backs minimum. You'd like to have 6 because you can't play without either one. those guys are high profile, some transfer, and especially now with the portal like it is. And the running backs are more likely to get hurt. I mean, we've already had a couple hurt and we're just starting the season. So you've got to have enough great backs. And maybe some people might think it's old school, but I still feel like you got to run the ball. And if they put so many up there, you can't possibly run it, then throw it till they back out. But make people stop the run, and great running backs make those offensive linemen better. If they're average backs, those linemen don't look as good. So we're always going to recruit great backs and great quarterbacks.
Okay, Mike Solarte, go ahead.
Thanks very much. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Mike.
The earlier you said, and I'm just paraphrasing here because I didn't write it down, but with the recent success, you're back in the mix for certain things. I've known you a long time. That doesn't sound like Mack Brown speak looking down the road. So how do you get these guys focusing on the short term while you're also keeping one eye on the big picture?
Mike, in recent years with the college football playoff, people throw you out so quickly that the regular season doesn't even become important anymore. And I hate that. But whatever the administrators decide to do with the college football playoff, don't lose our regular season. Give people hope, and don't lose our bowl games. There's a lot more teams in college football that can't go to the playoff that need the bowls a lot more than the playoff. The playoff will create money, it'll create excitement, but it touches a very minute number of our players and our coaches in college football. So I think as we talk about playoffs, we've got to continue to talk about the bowl games. We can't let them go. Some teams can't possibly get to the playoffs, period. And if we take the bowls away, or if we make the bowls lesser of importance, we're going to lose a lot of experiences for kids and coaches at so many universities. And to us, Mike, when you lose an opener, and you took, I started looking the other day, Florida State, Notre Dame had a tough opener. Miami, Alabama had a tough opener. We had a tough opener. A lot of people played teams that were like scrimmages. And then everybody's so excited about those teams. Man, they're playing great. Well, they haven't really played anybody yet. And we have. We've played two really good teams, and Georgia State wasn't bad. So what I felt like, Mike, it was important to tell our guys, everybody throw them out. You're out. Man, this team ain't any good. So I said, you've got a chance to be good. You got a chance to prove it. Last year in the fourth week, you didn't play well on the road at night. So let's see if we've made progress. Let's see if we've improved. And they are back in the top 20. So they're back in a position where people are talking about them. We have probably earned the right to be the top 20 or 21 team in the country now. We never earned the right to be top 10. So let's keep proving that we're a good team, and you got to be good long enough before you can be great. And that's the next step. And this weekend is a step to continue to be a good team. We've got to go on the road and beat a team that Carolina's had trouble beating, that nearly just beat Clemson. That's a great test for us. So that's what I'm talking about with them. It's not looking ahead. I did tell them the next 4 weeks should be as much fun as any in college football. When you think about going to Mercedes Stadium to play Georgia Tech, where we've had trouble winning, Duke, super rival at home, and then Florida State and Miami coming in here, man, it don't get any better than this. So that's fun. So you guys should enjoy it, but to enjoy it, you got to be good and you got to win, and you got to embrace it. And people are looking at us differently than they did 2 years ago, Mike. People get excited about playing us, and that's fine. I said, "Oh, ABC's back. Anybody but Carolina," and I remember that when we were here before. And that's the way it is again. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
And if I could just follow up on the uniforms, you said that if you tried to take the uniform thing away from the guys, you'd lose them. But how much superstition plays in with this leadership group, and maybe are you going to throw a nugget at them about the 50 points in the old school look?
I'll probably throw it out to be funny with them, but nah. Superstition doesn't fit. I've done this long enough. Good teams are ones that win, not uniforms.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, we'll close up today with going back to Garrett Lynch. Go ahead, Garrett.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned last week about chemistry and Sam kind of really getting down to a science of getting chemistry down with his receivers. What have you noticed so far this week from a chemistry standpoint from Sam? Has he been improving? What can you say about that?
Garrett, it just gets better and better and better. The guys are practicing better. And when you win, and I think we had the 6th largest output of yards last week in our school history. And everybody last week quit talking about the 4 that we lost last year. That had been the focal point for the first part of the season. So when I showed the guys today, we've rushed for more yards this year after 3 games than we did last year. With those 2 great backs, it got their attention. So I think that we're getting some identity, we're getting some confidence, and we're moving forward now as an offense better than we did until halftime of Georgia State. I really think whatever happened at halftime of Georgia State, we flipped it. We scored 21 points in the 3rd quarter, and then we were really good the other night. And I'll say one more time, it is really, really hard to give up 14 points in 2.5 minutes right before the half in a game that you hadn't won for 4 years, and come back and dominate the second half and win. So I have never been prouder of a group of coaches at halftime or those players for showing their mental toughness, for coming back and taking over that second half like they did. That is really hard to do. And you look at the percentages and numbers of people who lead at halftime or people who give up 14 points right before the half, and you don't win many times. So that should be a real confidence builder for our team and help us with their mental toughness.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, that's all we got for you this morning. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Mark. Travel safe, and I will talk to you guys after the game.
Thanks, Coach. Have a great day.